Hello, my name is Carolyn Swift. Welcome. Are you afraid about 2012? Have you caught on to all that fear and hysteria out there about 2012? Particularly as seen through the lens of the Mayan prophecies. Does that all frighten you? Do you believe that the world's going to end on December 31st of 2012 at midnight? Let me assure you, it's not. The world is here to stay. She has gone through many, many changes already, and she's going to go through lots more changes, but she's not going anywhere. Our mother is staying put. But what will change? What is going to change our experience on this planet is our perception of the world. In fact, our perception of the entire universe is what is going to change and what is already changing. Einstein gave us a wonderful gift when he proved that our experience of the universe depends entirely upon where we stand in the universe and how we perceive from where we stand. In other words, what we see is what we get. Let me say that again. What we see is what we get. That's stunning, isn't it? Isn't that a stunning revelation? Our experience here is governed by how we perceive. I'd like to tell you a personal story now, a story that really, I think, beautifully demonstrates this principle that what we see is what we get, that what we experience is governed by how we perceive what we are experiencing. Years ago, 30 years ago, when I was young and did not have this gray hair, I had a sweet little dog named Emma, and she was my heart's desire. I just loved her. I also had, at that time, just recently connected with Ascendant Master Emmanuel. He is an Ascendant Master who is on the spiritual plane, and if you were alive and kicking in the 70s, you might remember a book called Emmanuel's Book, A Manual for Living Comfortably in the Cosmos. And that was channeled by Pat Rodegas. That was a very popular book back then. If you haven't read it, please go read it. It's a wonderful book, and you'll get to know Master Teacher Emmanuel's vibration. That's a good thing. So I had made contact with Master Teacher Emmanuel, and I had a little dog named Emma. And one day, Emma and I were on a walk out in the country, and when we walked out in the country, she was allowed to be off of her leash because I thought that no harm could come to her. And we were out walking. It was a beautiful day, and Emma had gone around a copse of trees in front of me, so I couldn't see her, but I trusted that all was well. And then suddenly I heard Emma scream. And it was a terrible scream. If you've ever heard a dog scream, you know what I mean. It was chilling. And at the same time, I could feel Master Teacher Emmanuel's energy right here on my right shoulder. And it was as though he was saying, pay attention. This is really important. So, of course, I was momentarily startled by the presence of Master Teacher Emmanuel, but I had to go take care of Emma. And I ran around that copse of trees, and what I saw was just horrifying, to say the least, because my little dog had got her paw caught in a hunter's trap. This big, huge hunter's trap snapped down on her, and that was what was causing her to scream. And there she was, thrashing and screaming and frightened out of her mind and in terrible pain. And I ran over to that trap, put my hands upon it, and opened it. Like butter, as we say. It was the easiest thing in the world to open that trap. And then I picked up my sweet dog, and looked at her paw right away. Do you know that there was no blood? There was no harm. Emma, in fact, walked home all the way happily, her tail wagging, as if nothing had happened. And when I did take her to the vet x-rayed her paw and said, "There's nothing wrong here. Are you sure? Are you sure your dog got her paw caught in a hunter's trap? I don't see that." So this was a stunning experience. 2 weeks later, I happened to be with a brilliant medium, and he went into trance and began to channel Master Teacher Emmanuel, and I was thrilled to be able to speak with Master Teacher Emmanuel face to face, or through this medium, as it were. And I asked my teacher, Emmanuel, what was that about when Emma got her paw caught in the trap? What happened? I felt you there. I heard what you said. Now please tell me what happened. And this is what Master Teacher Emmanuel said. He said to me, "You see, beloved, in that experience of the trap, there were 3 levels of consciousness. First of all, there was Emma in her dog consciousness, her consciousness at the level of a dog. And her experience of the trap was just the pain, the physicality, the fear that came up as a result of that trap. That was her experience. Your experience," and he meant me, Carol, and my experience was not of the physicality of the trap. I didn't have my hand caught in that trap. But he said, "But you were certainly frightened." And that's true, I was. And then he said, "But I was there too. And for me, everything in reality is God, even the teeth in a trap." And because I believe this, I also believe that God does not hurt God. In other words, the God that's in the trap does not hurt the God that is in Emma. That is my belief. And I'm standing next to you with this belief that everything in reality is God, even the teeth in the trap. And of course, you're resonating to me. You're tuned into me. And you pick up that resonance. You pick up that belief. You pick up that perception. And you carry it literally in your hands over to where your dog is. And you have the experience of being able to pull open the trap as if it were nothing. And then you have the even greater experience of picking up your dog, looking at her paw, and this is what many would call a miracle, seeing that she is unharmed. But he went on to say, this wasn't a miracle. This was the natural movement of vibration of perception. This was my perception vibrating, moving through the universe. You pick up that vibration, you carry it with you, you take it to Emma, and she picks it up too. This was truly an amazing lesson, and it altered my life completely. I haven't been the same since. I think I can honestly say I think about that lesson every single day. I think about the words that Emmanuel said. Everything in reality is God, even the teeth in the trap. What does this have to do with 2012? Are you wondering that? Well, first of all, I want to say that taking sacred text, like this Mayan text that says that the world is going to end, taking sacred text seriously, I think is a good idea. But taking sacred text literally is not a good idea. A lot of sacred text that we have has been channeled. And when things are channeled, they usually are channeled symbolically. Symbols are what we get. And the Mayan text, if you really want it to work for you and be useful for you, should be taken as a symbol not of the end of the world of this physical planet Earth, but the end of consciousness of how we perceive the world. So what the Mayan texts are talking about is the end of the world as we have known it, as we have experienced it. So how have we been experiencing the planet? Well, look at our creation myths. Many of the creation myths talk about a higher deity, a guy in the sky or a woman in the sky who will fashion the earth and the sun and the stars and everything that we see for us and place us upon this earth and bid us well and tell us to go forth and be fruitful. Now, this is kind of like if you were walking down the street and somebody tapped on your shoulder and said, you know what? I've got a house and I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to design it, I'm going to build it, and I'm going to pay for it, and then just give it to you. And all you have to do is live in it. Well, that sounds pretty great, except you have no part in the creation of this house. You have no say. It's just a done deal. It's going to be made for you. All you're going to do is live in it. So you don't get to say where the windows go. You don't get to say what color things are. You don't get to say what kind of dishwasher you have, etc., etc. You don't get to say where it is. You're sort of living in a borrowed house, aren't you? And just as you don't have a say in how the house is built, you also aren't really responsible for this house because you didn't build it. And that's the problem with the old way of thinking. If we are living in a house that is just given to us, in which we have no responsibility, well, then we can just sit back in our lives, can't we? And be victims of our circumstances. If we carry that old consciousness into 2012, well, then whatever catastrophe comes along, we can just sit back and say, well, it's the end of the world. We have nothing to do with this. This is happening to us. We are a victim of this. But in the new consciousness, in which we are living in a house that we have helped to create, and I want to remind you again of what Einstein said. The experience we have in the universe is based on how we perceive the universe. And bringing into mind again the story about Emma and her paw in the trap. That experience was governed by perception. Certainly, Emma's perception was of devastating horror. Certainly, I was scared out of my life. But there was another vibration of perception there. And that vibration was the vibration that ultimately governed that experience, which led to a dog unharmed. So in this new thought, in which we partner in the creation of the universe, in which we put our hearts and our souls into the creation of the universe, we are also responsible then for what we see. And this is what New Thought is about. It's about attunement into a higher level of thinking, into, if you will, Master Teacher Emmanuel's level of thinking, and responsibility to carry that higher level of thinking into our circumstances so that our circumstances will be affected positively. So the end of the world is the end of the world as we know it. You know, I have a theory as to why people become fascinated by the idea of the world ending. And as you know, there have been many, many such prophecies. Y2K, there have been all kinds of groups and individuals that have decided for one reason or another that the world was going to end on a certain day. And they built whole belief systems on that. And they seem to sort of thrive on that. And I know there was one individual who made a lot of money on that. Why do people get fascinated with the end of the world? What's in it for them? It's almost as though there's a hidden desire, isn't there, for the end of the world. And I wonder if that hidden desire for the end of the world isn't about responsibility and not wanting to carry responsibility for the world. I wonder if what's happening is that we have souls who deep in their subconscious understand that yes, we are moving into a new level of consciousness. Yes, the world is ending as we have known it, because the new world that we live in is a world that we partner, that we are responsible for, that we co-create. And guess what? I think there are many souls out there who don't want to be responsible. Kind of like when you were in school and there was inclement weather. Where I was raised, we had snow days, but perhaps for you, if you didn't have a snow day, you may have had a power outage day and the air conditioning wasn't working. But we've all had that experience, haven't we? You can't go to work today, you're sick. You can't go to school today, the schools are shut down. You can't go to work today, there's a power outage. And for many of us, and I remember when I was a kid, gosh, we loved snow days. They were fantastic. That feeling of recess, no homework, no responsibility. I do think that underneath the hysteria of 2012, if we're honest, we're going to see a deep desire for recess, for an era in which there is no responsibility. Get me out of this. I don't want to have to be responsible. Now, if you're one of those souls that is afraid of the responsibility that comes with a higher consciousness, there is nothing to be afraid of. It's not as though you've got to go out there immediately and find a cure for cancer. It's not as though suddenly the entire universe is going to look in your eyes and say, okay, it's up to you. How do we make all this better? It's not as though you would do that by yourself. But put yourself in my shoes again when Emma got her foot caught in the trap. What I did was listen. There was a higher consciousness present, and I listened to it. And it is that listening, that attunement into the higher consciousness that made it possible for me to open up that trap and to hold in my arms a dog with no wound, with no harm. So really, the job is about attunement. That's the job of 2012. And that's the job that we're being called to for this new world. Now, maybe some of you are asking, well, when does the evolution end? Is there an end at all? Is there ever going to be an end to any of this? Well, to help answer that question, I'd like to talk about another personal event, an experience I had about 5 years ago when I was in prayer and meditation. And I was actually talking to Master Teacher Jesus, and what I said to him was that I had grown distant from him, and I wanted to change that somehow. That when I was young, 17, and enamored with him, I was very, very close to him. But I said to him, you know what, I'm a middle-aged woman now. I've changed, I've evolved, and I just don't know how to be with you now. Because I've changed, because I've evolved. And what I heard him say was astounding. He said, I've changed too. Are you the only one that's allowed to evolve? Of course, I was gobsmacked. The idea of Master Teacher Jesus not being a static being, not having just come to the end of his evolution, but the idea that he was continuing on and would forever, this was amazing to me and beautiful. But it also really helped me to understand 2012. Because if Master Teacher Jesus continues to evolve, if the entire universe continues to evolve, then we also are continuing to evolve, and we will. So, what are you going to be doing this coming December 31st, midnight of 2012? You can see that minute hand going, and we're about to move into 2013. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts going to be? Well, my hope is that you're going to be sound asleep, safely, peacefully dreaming. And this is what I hope that you're dreaming about. I hope that what you'll be dreaming about are the many, many ways in which you can be a co-creator on this planet. I hope that you're going to be dreaming about what you'll do, what you'll say, and what you will attune yourself into when you find yourself momentarily trapped in an experience that seems to you to be a nightmare. I hope that you'll be dreaming the words that Master Teacher Emmanuel spoke. I hope you'll be dreaming them. Everything in reality is God, even the teeth in a trap. And as you continue to dream them, I hope you'll be using that. I hope you'll be using that mantra and saying, everything in reality is God, even my present circumstances, even what I am seeing around me right now, even everything that scares me on planet Earth, even doubt, even confusion. I hope you'll be using that mantra in your dreams and when you are awake. And I hope that you'll be dreaming about Emma. And I hope that you'll remember how happy she was when she walked home from that horrifying experience. I hope that you'll remember that the vet said, there's no damage here. I hope that you'll be dreaming of a wonderful, inspiring, creative, exciting, awesome new year for you and for everybody around you. And I hope that you will remember as you dream that yes, it is the end of the world as we have known it. And it is the beginning of a new world. A world where our perception is going to govern our experience 24/7. And because this is so, it's up to us to stay attuned to the higher vibrations, because it is those higher vibrations that will make sure that Emma's paw is undamaged. It's been wonderful working with you and talking with you today. I hope you'll be able to take this lesson with you. Remember these words. Everything in reality is God, even the teeth in the trap. And everything in reality is God, even the fear around 2012. You be blessed. You be well. Be creative. Tune in. Tune up. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.